Okay, so indie filmmaking looks glamorous when it works. But the truth is, most of the time it doesn't. Things break, weather kills your shoot, and sometimes literally the cops show up. In this two-part video series, we're breaking down the 7 biggest problems that indie filmmakers face on set and how to survive them.
I get paid for this crap?
And hopefully you don't face all of these dumpster fires in a single day. But we actually did. And at the end of this video, we'll show you what we managed to pull off with our feature film, Alien Country. So first things first, let's recap part 1, and then we're gonna jump into the 4 remaining problems and the crazy story that we experienced. We were in the middle of the Utah desert, filming second unit photography for a feature film. We had to get the opening shot, the closing shot, a bunch of really cool aerial shots, trucks driving, vintage vehicles, police car, vintage motorcycle. It was pretty ambitious. And on day 1, things didn't go as we planned. Our first problem number 1, we didn't have enough time. This is something every filmmaker is going to face. No matter where you are in your film career, sometimes there just isn't enough time to get everything you critically planned. So our solution, you need to come up with priorities, and the most important thing, and something we didn't do well on this shoot, was prioritizing only the things we knew we couldn't get again. We actually shot some other stuff that we probably could have picked up more easily.
Yeah, and time.
And that caused us to miss one of the most important shots in our shoot. So we're gonna measure this, I think, in percentage dumpster fire, 1 to 100. So my dumpster fire meter, I think by the end of day 1 was like probably just 10%, because I was like, man, how am I gonna fix this problem? Now, problem number 2 that we addressed is something that we see indie filmmakers can do over and over again, and that is asking too much of their cast and crew. Fatigue destroys morale, you push people to the limit, and you pay for it the next day. So the solution that we actually did do well on this shoot was we planned a 12-hour turnaround, which really meant we were respecting the time of the people we were collaborating with. Giving them a 12-hour turnaround allowed them to get the rest they needed to produce great content on day 2. This is such an important principle for everyone to understand. You need to pay your crew well. If you can't pay them incredibly well, feed them incredibly well, and at the end of the day, respect their time and ask them to pull appropriate hours only. That's how you build long-term friendships and relationships. It's super important. And then, of course, there was problem number 3. At the beginning of day 2, we had a crazy person come out of the woodwork and start yelling at us and call the police.
Hey, we're staying within the speed limit.
Yes, a local townie, the epitome of a Karen, was just like ranting and shouting. As the producer on set, I had to make my way over to her and calm her down.
The reality is, filmmaking can be disruptive. Neighbors, noise, trash, whatever it is. You do not want to burn bridges and cause problems. So it's super important, solution number 3, knowing what your impact is going to be to the community, to the location, and to the environment that you're filming in.
You know, from her perspective, she felt like we were tourists from LA or somewhere coming down and just like disrupting her peaceful morning. And that's, I mean, we were in a way, but we had permission to do it.
Do your legwork ahead of time. Let people know you're going to be there, especially local law enforcement. We had a vintage police car. Police were part of this shoot. And so we had a conversation, and that allowed us to build a relationship with the local law enforcement. So when someone crazy called and tried to get us kicked out of her town, the police were like, no, they're good. They got permits. We're good.
So, I don't know, dumpster fire meter, where are we at here?
I think we hit about like 35% for me.
Yeah, it was a little frustrating. It was very frustrating because, again, we felt like we had come here for this very specific shot. We got the permission, and we didn't get the shot.
Okay, that catches up. So we thought that was going to be the biggest drama of the day.
Oh, it surely was not.
Sometimes you don't have enough time. Like we said in problem 1, shots can take longer than you anticipated, and you need to start prioritizing. But what do you do when the elements actually stop you? Because in the last video, we didn't get our opening shot of the film. This really came down to the fact that for timing's sake, we weren't able to shoot during golden hour in the morning. So whether it's a storm, cloud cover, the weather changes, equipment fails, you miss your window.
I'm currently holed up inside of the grip electric vehicle while it rains a little bit. Any minute now. Any second. Any minute now. Any second. No problem.
What do you do when the elements or weather are stacked up against you to get that one critical shot? Here is a really important solution we learned on this set. Take a moment, take a beat, come up with a backup plan. We were talking about, should we come back to this spot at the end of the day? But we had all these other shots we needed to get like 10 miles, 15 miles away. So it was like, no, we can't come back here. This is not going to be the opening shot of the movie. We had to improvise. We had to find another solution. So we had to move on, but we took a moment and decided that if we could get all of the next shots for our chase sequence done, we could potentially pick up the opening shot somewhere near that same location. What we did to prepare for this second unit of photography was we were going to try to get a lot of shots by mounting cameras to the cars, to the motorcycles. We were kind of playing it like what's gonna actually work when we have these cars and these old bikes that don't go that fast doing this chase. So we spent pretty much most of the day after this morning shoot re-rigging and rigging up all the cameras to the police cars.
And it was really bloody hot. I just remember being on this like offshoot of the road that was dirt and like everyone was under the cars and rigging things. And
now luckily, we had already done our homework. A week before, we went into a studio with the car and the motorcycle and tested out the different ways we could rig up the cameras.
Doing a little pre-rigging here. When I say doing, I'm not the one who knows what he's doing. I mean, I can figure it out, but...
Okay, quick pause here, because this is really important as we talk about our next problem. It's so important to have the right people for the right job, and there are hundreds, thousands of jobs that need to happen to put a film together. Okay, unpause.
Skylar's killing. So, rigging up the police car for our chase, which is going on this weekend.
We had hired incredibly talented filmmakers, including Skylar Sorensen, who was our gaffer for the rest of the film. He helped us do a pre-rig day, where we tested out the different angles, the different looks, the different styles. That saved us so much time. We would mount cameras to the top of the police car, the bottom of the police car, the front of the motorcycle, and we got all those shots done. We were pretty efficient, and that's what can happen when you hire the right people for the right job. But that leads to problem number 5. Sometimes you cannot afford to hire the right people for the right job. In indie film, you're wearing multiple hats, sometimes too many. Case in point. Now, as we've mentioned many times, we had an old police car on set in the middle of the desert. But let's talk about the practicalities of having an old police car on set in the middle of the desert. That means
we had to haul an old police car, literally. And so Boston and I thought it would be a really great idea to save some money.
Right.
And
in the big leagues, you have a transpo department, right? And
there's a reason for that, because they're very qualified to do their job.
Yeah, they know how to, I don't know, put a vintage vehicle on a trailer.
On the back of a flatbed truck.
But we were like, how hard is it? It's not
It can't be that hard. We can do it ourselves.
So we borrowed our friend's van. And
literally, our friend down the street had a van. He was like, take my van.
It's got a towing capacity of 6,000 pounds. You should be fine.
We're like, okay, how do we find a flatbed? And
he's like I got you. So he sourced one, and he got a super heavy duty one. That probably was a little bit overkill for what we needed. You could have put a backhoe on there.
It was overkill.
But
so Boston, myself, and another city slicker, our producer Danny. Major shout out to Danny, because he really went through the ringer this weekend.
He put up with like a marital strife, I guess you could call it.
Marital drama.
The solution here: if you can't afford to hire the right people, you need to find someone who knows what they're doing and have them explain to you what they would do. Ask them their process. Ask them how they would approach a certain problem. But what sucks about that is at the end of the day, you just don't know what you don't know. So I basically said to the crew, well, do you think we can try to get the opening shot and maybe let's see if we can get it shooting into the sun as we ride up this hill?
Did we do it? I can't remember.
So an 80s police car driving up a hill,
that's right.
It was doing like 25, 30 miles per hour.
And that's when we like broke it, right? Sort of.
I mean, I don't know that we broke it as much as like we tried to drive up a hill with this old car, and after 6 or 7 times, the transmission on the cop car was shot.
The owner of Everly's car looked at the car for us and he was like, oh, you busted the transmission or something.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, there's a bunch of fluid out there on the road. I think that might be the transmission. And we're like, what it basically meant was the car would no longer go in reverse.
It was going forward, but would not go backwards. So anytime we had to back it up, we'd literally put it into neutral and push it.
Or we would just find a place where it was wide enough that they could just make a giant boat turnaround. Because ultimately, we're filming a car chase. The police car doesn't need to go backwards in a car chase. We're doing fine.
So we were going up this hill, and we didn't get the opening shot.
No. So I think my dumpster fire meter at that point was like close to 50%. Most of that just came down to, I don't know how I'm going to open my movie if I don't get this shot. And now we need to move on to a few other things. However, I think that started to cool off for me because we took the police car down into this canyon and we had a drone, and actually 2 different drones, right? They were getting beautiful shots, absolutely stunning shots. And I think in that moment, I started to just feel really confident that the opening sequence was going to be spectacular.
It's gonna work.
One of my favorite shots in the film we captured, and when that happened, I just started to feel, okay, I think we have something. We're actually winning.
This whole shoot wasn't a bust. So opening shot of the whole movie, no.
But the stunt chase sequence, yes, we got absolute gold. So then it was the end shot.
Here we are getting the final shot of the film. It's not our final day of production, but we are down in southern Utah. We set up a sign.
So the ending shot, it wasn't a big deal because we only had to get it exactly during blue hour,
No pressure.
which is right after the sun sets, but not too long after the sunset because you lose all your ambient light.
And we had this key set piece with no art department, and my producer brain forgot that we had to like put this massive road sign, fake road sign, on the side of the road somewhere, and we did not bring any tools or any way to do this.
This immediately jumps into problem number 6, not having the right equipment. Yeah, if we had an art department, we would have had the right tools. Solution here, take time, get the right equipment, and do the best you can.
So literally Danny, the other producer, and myself are trying to like hoist this massive sign. It looks really small in the photos, but it was way taller than us, and it was on this like U-shaped metal frame, super heavy. We had to dig in the dirt. We had no way to do that. Literally, once again, the guy who saved our asses with the transmission in the police car, he's like driving by and he was like, I might have a toolkit in the back of my car. In that moment, I was so miserable, and I was so frustrated, and I was so tired, and I was so hot, and I was like physically, I cannot do this job. Like, I'm pretty tough.
So where were you on your dumpster meter?
It's probably like 75% because the sun's going down, and luckily we got it done and the shot looked great. But you know, I was emotionally being worn down at this point.
Think about it. In the morning, she was yelled at by a Karen, and now 12 hours later,
After being in the hot sun.
in how much effort and energy it was trying to get the opening shot of the movie and failing, we got the finishing shot of the film, and it was better than I was hoping. And I can only show you part of that. You have to go watch the movie to watch the whole thing.
It's beautiful.
We got 2 of probably my favorite shots in the entire film within a couple hours of each other.
Well, we just finished, and we are cleaning up the Cocopelli County sign.
Again, like we had to put this sign in, we get the shot, we have to figure out how to take the sign out. Luckily we had more people at that point because all the crew guys were back and we were taking it out together, but...
Remember how we said the cop car stopped going in reverse?
Okay,
Yeah.
So fast forward. We're mentally, emotionally, physically exhausted, but then we get back to our hotel and we've got to get this vintage police car back onto our borrowed friend's van's flatbed. And it's like 11:30 at night and we've been up since, I don't know, at least 6 in the morning or something. But at that point, we fed the crew and people took off. And so it's Boston, myself, and Danny. Again, shout out to Danny for putting up with us. And I was directing Boston onto this flatbed. Boston was driving. I actually usually was the one driving
It's the flatbed.
onto
This
the
is the police
flatbed
car.
because
This is the police car.
yeah. Anyway, so I'm like directing him, telling him to come forward, and all of a sudden I see the flatbed and the car and Boston like both of their front ends go like way up into the sky, and it's like flatbed car going this way. But I think I screamed.
Yeah.
I think I screamed bloody murder at like I was probably almost midnight by then. I don't even know. But what happened is our hitch wasn't hitched properly. Is that the problem?
Yeah.
Anyway, did we finish getting it on
No.
at night?
It was on the flatbed, but it was not lined up correctly. Like, honestly, Rennie broke down and started crying. But luckily nobody called the police on us that time. I had a meeting in the morning.
So did I.
We had physical meetings to go to.
We both had meetings that we had to be back for in the morning.
And I think I was running on enough adrenaline that I was like, oh, we can easily drive 3 hours home. This should be just fine, even though it's already 11 o'clock at night. We'll get in at 2 a.m., but that's fine. Which it legitimately wasn't.
It's not safe.
This leads to the most important problem and solution of this entire video series. Problem number 7, losing perspective. When everything's going wrong, you can't lose sight of why you are there.
I think just like mentally we were planning on being able to drive home, and we had to make the call that was not safe.
Filmmaking can be challenging and there is a lot of trial and error, but you do not have to learn the hard way. You can absolutely learn the easy way.
Which is why we've created the Indie Filmmaker Starter Kit. It's exactly what we use to make our movies happen, and it's completely free.
It has story templates, pitch decks, production tools, and step-by-step guides to help you actually start, finish, and ship your film.
You're gonna love it.
Check it out, link in the description. So it's the middle of the night. Where was your dumpster fireometer at that point?
I was pretty maxed out. I mean, if you can say 120%, it was definitely 150%.
When you feel like you're approaching that point, that's when things can actually go horribly, horribly wrong. And so if you see that coming, just cut bait, quit, stay a night in a hotel, whatever it needs to be. I think that's the biggest thing that we learned.
And I'm really glad that we did.
We were supposed to leave last night. We didn't leave last night because this car, the transmission seems to be a little bit, what could you say, shoddy? And then we were just 2 miles from the studio destination, and luckily it's a double axle trailer, but one of the tires blew out.
The tire blew out. The tire on the rented flatbed blew out.
And we're just going at about 30 miles per hour the last little mile so that we can get back, because, you know, stuff goes wrong while you're filming.
In indie film, people can ask their friends, right, their collaborators, too much, and they can push them too far, and it can ruin a friendship. And the cost of losing a friendship versus losing a few $100s or thousands of dollars to just come back and try again in a healthy, safe way, that is not one-to-one.
We were the directors, producers, writers, actress, right? And we were the first ones on set and the last ones to leave on almost every day of principal photography and these pickups. And so I do think that like we were pushing ourselves to extremes that like hopefully we have never asked anybody else to do. But I think we figured out that we even pushed ourselves too far. And because we didn't get some of the shots that we really needed on this trip, we added a day to our principal photography pickup days. So in the end, it all worked out.
And actually, the money shot, the big jump, as well as the opening shot of the film, we were able to get them when we were doing our pickups, and it made all the difference. We will have to talk about how we achieved those, plus how we actually went back and with just me and one friend and a camera, we picked up a bunch of other scenic shots to fill out the entire timeline and the entire story of Alien Country. And little by little, day by day, shot by shot, we assembled it, finished it, and shipped it out into the universe.
So stay tuned.